Hello, everyone. I'm Fozzie Cam, and I'm here as always with my co-host Will. How you doing today, Will?
I'm doing great, Cam. I'm super excited for the things that we're going to be talking about on today's episode. How about you? How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. We have a great episode today, as usual. And you know what I just realized? Well, we
What's that?
actually we on the week we released the 100th episode anniversary, I
Yeah.
guess, or not anniversary, celebration, whatever we called it in the title.
hmm
Um, for that week, we actually filmed a podcast episode, and it's currently in the vault. So at some point, that episode's gonna get released. Hopefully, I forget exactly what we covered on that episode. Um, Hopefully, we can release it, and it won't be like outdated news, like stuff that the we that's not real or whatever. I don't even know, but yeah, hopefully it ages well if we end up posting it later. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I said, we have a great episode for everyone. Last week's episode was fantastic as well. We had our annual yearly movie ranking where we ranked all the movies we saw. It was a great episode. Check it out if you haven't already. It was cool to see our lists. Also, follow me on Letterboxd. You can check the description of this video to follow me on Letterboxd, where you'll see all of my movie reviews and other shenanigans there. So yeah, let's get right into this episode. Briefly here, I want to kind of cover something that I'm a little almost annoyed by. And this is I think you'll probably agree with me, Will. This is the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man TV show.
Yeah.
And alright, first glance, you're probably wondering, Cam, why are you annoyed? Why are you annoyed by Friendly Neighborhood
Yeah.
Spider-Man? Well, I'll tell you why. It's a waste of money. Why is Disney and Marvel spending money on this show? No one's gonna watch it. I've seen no hype for it. Even when it was just getting announced, no one was excited for it. Even after the trailer, no one's excited for it. And it's not connected to the MCU. So why would anyone watch that show? This just goes back to the argument we've had on the show before. Marvel's wasting their money on these TV shows, especially this one, because it's not even an actual MCU TV show. It's just a waste of space. I'm most certainly not watching this show. It doesn't even look good. Originally, it was supposed to be a backstory for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Now it's not. Would have been way more compelled to watch it if it was, but I guess they didn't want to do that. Not watching the show, and I'm usually a fan of all things animation, no matter the style. This looks horrible. The animation style is terrible. I don't like it. The city doesn't look good. Nothing really looks that good. I know what they were going for. They didn't achieve it. Um, it's almost like it's a very low budget version of Spider Verse because it's going for that comic booky look, and it just doesn't work. Which, like I said, I usually don't have a problem with experimenting with different styles of animation, but this just flat out looks terrible. So I'm not watching this show. Well, what's your take on the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man TV series?
Yeah, I agree with so many of the things that you said there. When this was originally supposed to be in origin story for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, I was like, "Oh, that's compelling. I would watch that." And I'm still gonna at least give it a try, but my excitement level is just not very high because something that one of our frequent podcast guests, when he doesn't pretend to be the third host when he's not and gets suspended for over half of a year, Mike, one thing that he mentioned that I thought was a great point is we've already seen the Peter Parker origin story multiple times. We already know what that looks like. So why does it need to be done again? One of the things I thought the MCU did so well with Tom Holland's Spider-Man is he was introduced and he was already Spider-Man. We didn't see him get bit by the spider
Yep.
or any of that stuff because we had already seen that with Toby and Andrew. We already knew what that looked like. So I mean, I don't know how they're gonna fully do this Peter Parker from this universe. But as Mike pointed out, we've already seen the Spider-Man origin story. We don't need to see it again. And I also completely agree with what you were saying about the animation style. As you said, I definitely think they were going for in old school comic book animation style, but I just wasn't liking it. I think the What If animation style is really good. I don't really have anything bad to say about that. But the
Same,
Your
yeah.
Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man animation style, I just wasn't digging it. Nothing about the trailer compelled me. The writing didn't seem good. Nothing seemed good. I do love Spider-Man as a character, so
Obviously,
I will
yeah.
check this out. But my hopes are not high. I just think, as Mike said, the origin story has already been done. Doesn't look well written. Animation style doesn't look good. This looks like an unnecessary project.
I mean, look, if it ends up being good, I'll definitely watch it. I mean, I love Spider Man, obviously, like you said, great character. But if it's not good, why would anyone waste their time with it? A mediocre Spider-Man product when there's so much Spider-Man content out there, including other animated shows that are better, like Spectacular Spider-Man and the original Spider-Man TV series, a bunch of stuff. Um, a bunch of Spider-Man content that's and animated has been legendary. So if this isn't gonna live up to that status, then don't waste your time with it. And if this doesn't get a lot of viewers, maybe Marvel will stop wasting their money. So or maybe it'll push them in the right direction. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that could be good. But yeah, overall, this come on, what are we doing here? Just it's a cash grab if I've ever seen one. You know what I mean? Now I got to talk about something we're both excited for. You more than me. Um, Daredevil Born Again. Still don't watch Daredevil. It's been like 3 years since I said I would watch Daredevil. But before this show comes out, I will watch Daredevil. Um, and if I don't, will you can beat me up because I need to watch that show. I have Netflix now. I went through a period of time where I was sharing a Netflix account with people, and obviously Netflix kind of cracked down on that. So I went through like a 6 month, and maybe even more, time span where I couldn't access Netflix. And that was mainly my excuse. Like, oh yeah, I'll watch when I get Netflix. I have Netflix now. I need to watch Daredevil. Um, so yeah, well, we were talking before about the Clone Wars. I don't think I'm gonna be able to rewatch that if I'm watching Daredevil. It's a lot of stuff. But yeah, we'll get to that in a sec. Um, I can't. Oh, it's on Disney Plus too. Wow, I'm just a mess.
It
What
is
a
on there
mess.
now,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh. Um. Yeah. So I guess I had no excuse. So yeah, well, you can find me and beat me up if I don't watch Daredevil by the time Daredevil Born Again comes out. But for me, I thought this trailer looked good. Obviously, not I don't know as much about Daredevil because I haven't watched the show, and that's on me. But from what I know about Fisk and from what I do know about Daredevil, it looks like a great show, and it looks like something I'd be definitely into. And from what I have seen from Daredevil, the original show, it basically looks like a season 4 in terms of the tone and style.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got that same vibe, Will, you being a more seasoned Daredevil fan, but I want to get your overall take on this trailer.
Yeah, so I mean my journey with this, Daredevil show and and Daredevil and Fisk being brought back into the MCU um has been very complicated because the Matt Murdock cameo in Spider-Man No Way Home, I mean I can live with that. I don't love um um uh Charlie Cox's Daredevil character interacting with Tom Holland Spider-Man, Tom Holland who has starred in Spider-Man movies that are way lighter in tone than the Daredevil series, but still, that felt like Matt
It
Murdock
was
enough.
world building almost,
Exactly,
just to
yeah.
flesh out the Daredevil world and the MCU world. You know.
Exactly, yeah. But like, that felt enough like the Matt Murdock Daredevil character to me to where I could live with that. But when I watch Wilson Fisk in Hawkeye, I'm like, this is a totally dialed down PG-13 version of Fisk. You can't convince me that Kate Bishop would beat Wilson Fisk. You just can't convince me of that. And when I saw Daredevil and She-Hulk, I was just like, you have got to be kidding me. This is just character assassination at its finest. And then I was, hearing all this stuff about how Karen and Foggy might not be in Daredevil
Yeah,
Born
they
Again,
weren't.
two pivotal characters, yeah, in the original series, and Fisk's wife is being played by a different actor, and I was just like, oh my goodness, what is going on? Are they going to completely ruin it? But then I saw Echo, and I was like, oh, this is the Wilson Fisk that I know. Daredevil in his cameo, that's the Daredevil that I know. I was like, oh, they actually have the ability to still write these characters in the gritty tone of the original series. So I saw Echo and I was like, okay, that's the Daredevil that I know. That's the Wilson Fisk that I know. Then I started to get some hope back. Then I started to hear they're not just bringing back Karen, they're not just bringing back Foggy, they're also bringing back a character, Ben Poindexter from season 3, aka Bullseye, along with the Punisher, aka Frank Castle. They're both back. And I just found out recently Wilson Fisk's wife, Vanessa, will be played by the original actor, no longer recast. So when I heard about that stuff, I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
now we're talking. It seems like they made the right move with this creative overhaul. And have gotten and saw what went wrong and acknowledged the changes that they needed to make. And then I saw the trailer for Daredevil Born Again, and I was like, this is great. This is everything I could ask it to be. This is dark. This is gritty. This feels like the original series. Wilson Fisk saying to Daredevil, it's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again. A lot of time has passed. Like that's
Yeah.
acknowledging that these characters have a past history. And I was worried that they would do something where, to your point about this, maybe being more like a season 4, which by the look of the trailer, I think it could be that way. To your point, like originally I thought, oh, they're just gonna ignore, kind of the events of Daredevil, and they're gonna try to make you think these are the same characters, but they're gonna kind of ignore the events of the series because they want to be able to make this for a new audience. But when I watched that trailer and just the things Wilson Fisk and Daredevil were saying to each other in that scene where they're at the diner, I was like, no, no, no. The things they're having these characters say to each other, they are acknowledging that these characters have a past history,
Yeah.
and I absolutely love that. Because listen, I am complete. Like I totally understand Marvel wanting to bring in a new audience and introduce new people to this show in the world of Daredevil. But if you're going to be bringing back the same actors to play these characters and try to convince me that these are the same characters from the Daredevil series, you need to acknowledge that the show happened, and you need to have the same dark, gritty tone of the original Daredevil series. That trailer had it. We'll see how it actually turns out. But for a show that I was originally just deeply worried about, that trailer completely switched it to where now I'm very excited about the possibilities. And the reason I'm excited about the possibilities is because I think Marvel acknowledged what went wrong and have made what looks like could be a great show. And that I give them credit for. So yeah, really looking forward to Daredevil Born Again.
Mm. Yeah. So I want to do a little side. I know, just a little. I don't know. I have a little question for you, Will.
Yeah.
So obviously you're a big fan of Fisk. I've actually
Yeah.
been wondering this for a little bit. I recently, ish, rewatched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about Wilson Fisk in that movie?
I mean, I'm fine with it because Vincent D'Onofrio is not voicing Wilson Fisk in that film.
Yeah.
That's a Wilson Fisk from a different universe and a different reality. So I thought it was fine. I wasn't nearly as compelled by that Fisk as I was by the Fisk in the MCU. But I was, I was fine with them doing that take on Fisk because it was a different Fisk than from the Daredevil show with a different actor voicing him. So yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was like crazy memorable like Vincent D'Onofrio's performance as Fisk is, but it didn't piss me off like Hawkeye does when I'm like, you're trying to convince me that's same Fisk from the
Yeah.
Daredevil series, because that I just couldn't wrap my head around.
Okay. I thought you were. I was not concerned, but I was interested to see if you'd I don't know, see it as an insult to the character because it's
No,
so
no, no.
much more
Yeah,
cartoony than the Netflix version.
right.
But that's good to hear. Briefly, I wanted to touch on the announcement of an Alien Romulus sequel.
Oh yeah.
Why are we making the sequel for a movie that was already mediocre? What are we doing, everyone? I had no real major issues with Alien Romulus, but there was nothing I would go out of my way to praise about it. It was the most mediocre movie. I really had nothing completely bad or nothing completely good to say about it, you know? There were flaws, there were good things. It was just so meh. And I don't usually say that about a lot of movies, but for a movie to be that, I don't know, neutral and get a sequel, what are we doing, guys? No, I don't think a lot of people want to see an Alien Romulus sequel. And if they do, if it ends up going through, it just make it good, make it better than Alien Romulus. That'd be great. Make it like the third act, which was insane, or the third act of Romulus. I'm talking here. That was a great part of the movie. That was probably my favorite part of the movie. So if we get stuff that's like that high intensity, that amount of, I don't know, just unexpected, if stuff like that, if we get that, I'll probably enjoy it. If it's just another Alien movie, I don't care. I probably won't watch it if it gets bad reviews, because if it gets bad reviews, it's gonna be because it's just another mediocre Alien movie, and I don't want to waste my time with that. What's your take on this Alien Romulus sequel?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you were saying about the Alien Romulus movie from last year. I definitely thought, like you, the third act was the strongest part of it. If the first and second acts were as compelling as the third act, I think that would have brought up the quality of the film as a whole much more. Listen, my thought on on an Alien Romulus sequel being in development is this. This is just classic Hollywood. This is
Mm-hmm.
what they do. Romulus made enough money at the box office, so the studio is saying, all right, that's enough to where we're going to make another one because it'll generate money for us, just like this one did. I'm not saying I
Yeah,
agree with it. I am
this
not
is how it is,
defending
though.
it. I don't think I don't think a sequel is necessary. I'm not jumping up out of my seat for a sequel. Not defending it in any way. I've just come to accept this is the Hollywood phenomenon. This is what they do. A movie comes out, makes money. It's from an iconic franchise, so the sequel says, okay, that's enough for us. We're going to continue, make a sequel because that's going to make money too. I don't defend it. I don't support it. I don't agree with it, but I've just come to accept it's just the Hollywood way of doing things, even though I couldn't disagree with it more.
Yeah, it's. I guess it's kind of upsetting just because of how much of a cash grab it is. Um, Speaking of cash grabs, Star Wars. That's something we got to talk about today because I am doing a Star Wars rewatch. Um, the prequels are bad movies, Will.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say they're cash
Yeah.
grabs is because Star Wars has notoriously been a cash grab. If you want to kind of get more information about it, watch Cosmonaut Variety Hour's video about the prequels. He breaks down, not only does he break down the prequels really well, but he also talks about how Star Wars has always been a cash grab. Which that isn't a bad thing. That's he was just kind of saying that that's what it was, because there's a kind of a thing with people, with Star Wars fans, that they think just because of Disney, Star Wars has become all cash grabby and Disneyified. But the reason he said that is he wanted to prove that Star Wars has always been this machine, this business, rather than a movie series, which, like he said, isn't a bad thing. That's just how it is. Anyway, I started this rewatch with the Phantom Menace. I so for the longest time, for for years, for years, I've thought, yes, The Rise of Skywalker is the definitive horrible Star Wars movie. It's the worst Star Wars movie. Worst Star Wars. Let me run that back. It's not the worst Star Wars product ever made. I'd rather watch that than Kenobi, than Boba Fett, then let's see what else do we got there. Maybe Andor, but I'd have to rewatch Andor. Maybe I have to finish Acolyte again. Season 3 of Mando. I'd rather watch that over those, but I'm gonna get to all those shows at the end of my Star Wars rewatch. I'm mostly doing it in series order, but I'm gonna do the TV shows except for the Clone Wars and Rebels at the end. So yeah, I don't know. I just kind of want to split it up that way because I didn't want to watch a TV show if I'm in the momentum between movies. You know, it would just mess up my viewing momentum. Anyway, for the longest time, I thought Rise of Skywalker was the worst Star Wars movie. Then I started this rewatch super confidently. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have such a fun time with this. Phantom Menace, Darth Maul. Come on, it's Darth Maul. It's gonna be a fun movie. He's gonna be in it, and Obi-Wan's in it. I haven't seen this movie in like 3-4 years. It's gonna be great. Qui-Gon Jinn, only movie he's in, iconic character. Anakin, Padme makes her first appearance in this, super cool. Yoda, we get CGI Yoda for the first time. Revolutionary CGI appears the first time in this movie. Legendary characters like Boss Nask, Jar Jar Binks, characters everyone loves. Young Anakin, so I go into this movie expecting just a fun time. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. Why is Qui-Gon Jinn an iconic Star Wars character? He's so boring in this movie. And touching back on the Cosmonaut Variety Hour, who has a YouTube video where he breaks down this series, is in his series, he likes to emphasize just how horrible the dialogue is. And I obviously agree with him. But he says, or obviously, I don't know if you've heard this, but there are Star Wars fans who will actually say the dialogue is Shakespearean, which I have heard people say online. The dialogue is Shakespearean. Everyone knows Shakespeare, right? You know Shakespeare, Will.
Of course.
He's a great writer. He's wrote some really, I don't know, brilliant work, you know. George Lucas wrote Star Wars, but anyway, Star Wars fans are calling George Lucas's dialogue in this movie Shakespearean, poetic. But this is how the Cosmonaut Variety Hour, this guy on YouTube, this is how he broke it down. It's not Shakespearean just because they talk funny, just because they all have weird accents, just because every single character has weird accents and says things like no one actually says them. You can say whatever you want to say. I've said so many negative things about the sequels, specifically Rise of Skywalker. At least the characters talking like normal people. I'd rather watch them laughing and joking all around with each other than this soulless, boring dialogue that makes me want to fall asleep when I'm watching it. I can't take it. Why would anyone ever watch such a soulless movie? The only reason I'm watching it is because I'm committed, I'm committed. I have that much I'm gonna calm down. I have a lot of respect for some of the stuff that George Lucas has done, but what are we doing with this movie? At the very least, Attack of the Clones, I can laugh at and have fun with. Revenge of the Sith is actually a pretty good movie. I can genuinely enjoy it and also have fun with it. I can have zero fun with this movie. Darth Maul has 2 lines. Watch him in Clone Wars. He's so much better. Watch him in Rebels. Yeah. He's so much better. He's 2 lines in this movie. What are we doing? He's such a good character and they completely butcher him. I want to quickly get to the visual effects.
Oh, yeah.
I just, George Lucas, over-reliance on visual effects that are so dated. Even Attack of the Clones isn't as horrible looking as this. Product of its time, yeah, I get it. But George, come on, you did beautiful practical effects on the original trilogy. Why couldn't we incorporate some of that in here? Why couldn't we put the actors on set instead of constantly in a blue screen room? They can't act in blue rooms, George. They can't act in blue rooms. Alright. It's ridiculous. I mean, they're not even on they're not even on sets. They're in blue rooms, expected to talk to each other when there's blue screen and green screen behind them, and there's imaginary characters that they don't even know what they look like. Poor Liam Neeson Poor Liam Neeson. He had to pretend to talk to Watto. Watto wasn't even there. And he had to make that convince. I'd be horrible. Everyone, Brad Pitt would be horrible. The best actors of all time. Give him George Lucas. Give him George Lucas. Give him his dialogue. Give him that ridiculous set that they shot the movies on, and they will be the worst actor of all time. Why did we all judge Hayden Christensen for this? I have no clue. It was not his fault. The person to blame with these movies is very clearly George Lucas. I'm glad that now he's kind of getting most of the blame, but you also have to respect the guy because he created the franchise. But it says do the pros outweigh the cons, you know what I mean? Is it worth having to suffer through these horrible prequels? No, these are bad movies, and I really don't think I'm ever gonna go back to the Phantom Menace. What a final act is cool. 10 minutes doesn't save a movie, like some people think it does.
Yeah.
10 minutes doesn't save a movie, and even that, it's not even the best fight scene in the series. That trilogy has better fight scenes. Battle of Geonosis is better than the Maul fight. Maul's cool. It's still a better scene. It looks better. The Mustafar fight, better than that. So I can't with this movie, and it's upsetting because it could be such a cool movie. Think of this. Think of this. It's 1999. Last movie you saw, Return of the Jedi. The Emperor's dead. George Lucas is gonna take us back to show us how Darth Vader became Darth Vader. Everyone's excited. We don't know what we're gonna get. We have not only are we gonna get a whole new cast of characters, we're gonna get returning Yoda's coming back, new visual effects, and then we get the story. Think of the story to this. After years of silence, after a long time, the Sith slowly start to crawl out of their cave and reemerge. Little incidents here and there of the Sith start to reemerge. And slowly, and slowly, and slowly, it starts to build up. So when Yoda and Mace Windu realize the Sith are back. Chills. Chills. Think of that premise and just think of what we got. Come on. Yeah, I'm never watching that movie again. It's like a 1 out of 10. It was a soulless, like, oh my goodness. I didn't even know what to do with myself. I was going to fall asleep with that movie. It was ridiculous. And Will, I know you recently saw a re-release of this movie, and you kind of had the same thought as me.
Yeah, I mean, I've never revered the prequel trilogy. I mean, I watched it, and the only movie from it that I've watched a second time is The Phantom Menace, which I saw at its re-release for, I think, its 25th anniversary last year. And yeah, I just agree with you. I mean, when I compare it to the original trilogy, the sequel trilogy, the animated projects they've come out with, the live action Disney Plus series they've come out with, I think they're all superior to the prequel trilogy, and especially the Phantom Menace. I think George Lucas. I mean, I think George Lucas was trying to do good.
Sure.
I don't think he was trying to make them
Nope,
bad. I just
definitely.
think he blew his opportunity at what could have been a great trilogy. And I think it just sometimes
Hmm.
goes to show that you can't, you know, catch lightning in a bottle twice. George Lucas caught lightning in a bottle with the original trilogy. It was a magical cinema experience, and he he couldn't recapture it. And to your point on the visuals with the Phantom Menace, when I was watching the Phantom Menace re-release, one of the things that came to my mind is, okay, I get that these visuals could have been really ahead of their time for when they came out in 1999. But when I compared the visuals in the Phantom Menace to the ones we got in the sequel trilogy and these live action shows now, I was like, oh, it's not even close. The Star Wars visuals have improved dramatically since what we saw in the Phantom Menace. So like you, I not a fan of the Phantom Menace. Was not a fan of it when I saw its re-release last year, and yeah, I don't see what could possibly bring me back to watch it again. Maybe if I have a kid someday and I want to show them, all of the Star Wars stuff. But besides from that, like you, I have no desire to see that movie again. I just think it's an unfortunate Star Wars low point.
Yeah. Now, before we end this episode, I want to just bring one more thing up about Star Wars. So, original trilogy, legendary, George Lucas's
Legendary.
masterpiece, right? George Lucas's masterpiece. What do people say is the best Star Wars movie? Well, Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
Yep. Everyone says it's the best Star Wars movie. It's the best lines. I love you. I know. Legendary, iconic, visuals, iconic. Directed, Irvin Kershner. Written, three people. Three people. Story by George Lucas. Screenplay by two people, not George Lucas. He was a producer, not a director, or the writer of the dialogue. That should tell you something right there.
yeah,
The best George Lucas has the ideas. He can't execute them. And luckily he's not making Star Wars any movies anymore. So now all we can do with George, and as much as we hated on him, he's not making Star Wars movies anymore. So all we have to appreciate him. He's done a lot of great things for this series. So, I'm gonna end this episode on a high note. Thank you, George Lucas. I mean, we wouldn't be able to talk about this without you. So even though some of your movies are just horrible, I appreciate it. But on that note, thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Everything Podcast. It was a great episode. Well, thanks for joining me as always. And we'll see you next week. Maybe you'll get the Vault episode. Who knows? You won't be able to tell it's the Vault episode, but we do have an episode in the Vault that you will be getting at some point. But yeah, thanks for watching.